Now, regardless of the medium in which dragons are represented, generally their presence is regarded with a very powerful tone. Through ancient mythology as well as fiction, dragons are terrifying, incredibly strong beings that truly do warrant the status that they hold. Within Yu-Gi-Oh! History, the representation of the dragon typing has been no different than its representation in other mediums. Now, over the course of time, through Yu-Gi-Oh! History, dragons have really proved again and again themselves to be that powerful and tenacious being that they're constantly represented in fiction to be. Really, today I want to explore the storied history of the dragon strategies that have been coming in and out of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Metagame, and explore what it has been that's kept this typing relevant for arguably a decade now. To tell the story accurately, I obviously have to start at the birth of the first dragon strategies that came to the competitive scene, and these were the decks accurately titled Hopeless and Disaster Dragon. Now, both of these decks appeared within similar time frames, around late of 2009, early 2010. Both decks really did operate with similar agendas, abusing the power of the recently released Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. However, the strategies were clearly separated by a few defining differences. Hopeless Dragon operated within the Dark Attribute toolbox, utilizing cards like Dark Horus, the Dark Creator, and Dark Grepher and Armageddon Knight. Another big draw to playing Hopeless Dragon was the graveyard control and access to one of the most powerful cards of the time period within Dark Armed Dragon. Now, Disaster Dragon was far from this, using cards like Masked and Totem Dragon for large tribute summon power plays, with boss monsters like Light and Darkness Dragon, alongside their already substantial power plays within Red Eyes Darkness Metal abuse. Now, although both of these decks clearly did exist and documented some levels of success within the 2010 and 2011 era of Yu-Gi-Oh!, this was simply the birth of the Dragon Toolbox, and strategies that seek to abuse it. These decks themselves saw a few regional tops, but they never really managed to make their hard mark on the metagame like their successors would. Moving forward in time a bit, and in February of 2012, Dragon received some pivotal support within the Dragon's Collide structure. Light Pulsar, Dark Flare, and Eclipse Wyvern breathed new life into the Dragon strategy, really allowing the deck to combine with powerful engines like Lightsworn, giving real merit to splashing powerful light and dark dragon cards in with the other already clearly powerful Twilight tools available. Now, it was with this support that the Dragon strategy finally claimed premier top cut spots. Peter Gross actually managing to win the April 2012 YCS, and Simon Yip following not far behind, taking top 4 at YCS Chicago a few months later. Now, right off the bat, this Dragon deck had proved itself far superior to its predecessor, really cementing itself as a genuine meta competitor, seeing serious amounts of success within its format. Unfortunately, the success Dragon was seeing within the Chaos form was short-lived, as in late 2012, they limited Red Eyes Darkness Metal, putting a damper on the powerful synergy that had been abused between Light Pulsar and Darkness Metal up to this point. Now, Chaos Dragons may have fallen out of favor, but it seems that Konami had other plans for the Dragon typing anyhow, as a few months after the ban list that took Red Eyes Darkness Metal away, Konami gifted Dragon fans Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy, and within it, the Dragon Ruler archetype. Arguably being one of the strongest decks to ever grace the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, Dragon Rulers took the game by storm in a fairly pure fashion on release. Securing top after top, Dragon Rulers decimated the metagame, hardly even using any Dragon cards that had been released outside of the archetype. The pure Dragon Ruler strategy was genuinely far ahead of its time. Konami was aware of this and went to work with the ban list to address the problems. Now, in August of 2013, Konami implemented the ban list, banning all of the baby Dragon Ruler cards that had been staple 2 and 3 ofs in virtually every Dragon Ruler build up to this point. However, this was hardly enough to contain the dominant threat that was the larger Dragon Rulers. This ban list simply forced players to get creative with their deck building, and good lord, in the future did they. Now, this was when the iconic Ravine Ruler build really introduced itself to the players. players began incorporating cards like Card Trooper and Dragon Ravine in order to fulfill the role the baby rulers had previously more efficiently facilitated. This change also led to cards like Debris Dragon seeing much more play. A former staple in Disaster Dragon found itself once again at the core of a dragon strategy, facilitating strong synchro plays consistently. This variation of the deck went on to win multiple YCS titles, piloted first by Merlin Schumer at YCS San Mateo and by Edward Kwong at YCS Toronto. The deck seized massive quantities of top cuts everywhere. Seeing all of these incredible performances by a deck Konami had attempted to properly address couldn't have been a good feeling for a team presumably trying to dial back the power level of the format. Come the ban list of January 2014, and the Konami team opted to limit now all of the larger rulers, in hopes to lessen the incredibly powerful results the deck had still been getting with the baby rulers banned. Now after this ban list, dragons were certainly down, but not out just yet. With the new inclusion of the Mythic Tree and Water Dragon into the deck, it was able to facilitate more rank 8 XZ summoning. The dragon deck definitely still did have legs to stand on. It did prove this as well, performing through ARGs and things of the sort in the coming months. The deck had certainly, though, been damaged effectively, but it was still a playable strategy at this point at least, seeing fair amounts of success here and there, but definitely a step below what it had previously been. Now we enter March of 2015. Hits to dragon strategies at this point are numerous, and the deck had, for the most part, fallen out of the competitive light. However, Premium Gold's release was on the horizon, and with it came the imminent release of Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter Dragon. This was an extremely powerful XZ monster, whose introduction forced dragons back into top cuts throughout the OCG. TCG Konami was aware of this success, and fearing yet another Dragon Ruler dominated format, they went to work very quickly on a ban list. Now, April of 2015, Konami decided banning the remaining rulers in order to avoid the fate the OCG had been dealing with. A Dark Matter Dragon Ruler format was the correct call. Only 10 days after the release of Dark Matter, and Konami were taking no chances. They presumably wanted to push other strategies and thus close this chapter of Dragon history for good. The Dragon Ruler era had finished after an incredibly strong showing, but as it always does, dragons would indeed find a way to recuperate and return stronger than ever. For a few years past the banning of the rulers, dragons had really stayed under the radar, with powerful Duelist Alliance era strategies generally stealing the spotlight for that period of time. However, with the release of the Dark Side of Dimensions movie pack in late 2016, and the introduction of Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, yet another dragon deck appeared within the metagame, being none other than Blue Eyes White Dragon. Now, Blue Eyes being a competent meta deck might seem like a foreign idea to a modern player, but access to two extremely powerful draw cards within Trade-In and Cards of Consonance, matched along with the growing strength of both the Rank 8 toolbox and the Level 9 Synchro pool, made Blue Eye strategies a genuine threat. The deck even managed to claim a Worlds title within August of 2016, with even more representation throughout the top cut. Now, unfortunately, the competitive lifespan of Blue Eyes was a short one, and definitely less of a storied history than something like the Dragon Rulers. Unlike most of the meta-competent dragon strategies that eventually did fall to the wayside, the demise of Blue Eyes wasn't due to any specific hit to the deck or any particular matchup that had popped up. The deck was a competitor through late 2016, but eventually the deck just found itself unable to compete with the growing power creep the game was imposing. Decks like Zodiac, True Draco, and Paleozoic really did become the mainstays of the meta, and Blue Eyes simply just couldn't keep up, and slowly lost representation from duelists and within top cuts generally. As is the natural progression of decks within the competitive game, Blue Eyes did simply just fade away. Now, after the success of Blue Eyes in 2016, it did admittedly take a bit for the Dragon support to finally arrive again. The next time Dragon strategies really did revive themselves within the competitive game was actually in early 2019, with the introduction of both Soul Fusion and Savage Strike. With many new cards for the Dragon strategy arriving in these sets, including but not limited to Chaos Dragon Levianeer, Guard Dragon Elpie, Agripane, and Pisty, along with Borreload Savage and World Legacy Guard Dragon, it seemed like Dragon was being given a second chance at life, revitalized in a way, adapting what Dragon did well originally and then modernizing that. Now, not soon after Stravage Strike's release, one more important wave of support for the TCG Dragon decks arrived within the set Dual Power, the import of Hieratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. This card would go on to be played in most of the decks that were already beginning to abuse the Guard Dragon engine, as the strength of a non-targeting interrupt that gave follow-up was impressive, to say the very least. Just out of the gate, the Dragon cards were seeing major play within Thunder Dragon builds that worked to abuse the power of the baby Chaos Dragons, along with the newly released Levianeer. Because these Chaos monsters would trigger the Thunder Dragon Graveyard's effects, they functioned dual purposes within these decks, both allowing easier Colossus access, along with providing extenders to make easy Saryuja and Hieratic Seal plays. Dragons had once again solidified a new form, feeding other decks as a support engine that cranked out powerful boss monsters quickly and efficiently. Konami obviously did see this incredible advantage and combo potential being generated by the Dragon engine, and went to work on balancing the issues they had been presented. The first hit that the Thunder Dragon Guard Dragon builds took was the banning of Dark Matter Dragon. Though I haven't discussed it in detail, this was another tool some Thunder builds were abusing in tandem with Arcbrave and Amorphage Goliath for powerful extra deck locks early game. And with the storied history the TCG had with Dark Matter up to this point, I don't think it's really a surprise that the card met its end here, though it was certainly not the most problematic card within the Thunder Dragon deck. Simply hitting Dark Matter proved not even close to enough over the course of the next format, within the Thunder Guard Dragon deck even winning the NAWCQ piloted by Cody Angeloff. The deck, as Dragons had over the course of time, had simply adapted to the ban list and moved on. Seeing the lackluster results of their Dark Matter ban, Konami took a much more heavy-handed approach in July of 2019, with a ban of Eclipse Wyvern and both baby Chaos Dragons seeing limits. Funnily enough, this still wasn't enough to keep the deck down, as it saw continued success until finally Konami decided to ban Guard Dragon Agripane within October of 2019. The deck had really persevered through thick and thin, but with the introduction of Nibiru the Primal Being within the Megatons alongside the loss of Agripane, the deck was undeniably struggling. The continued success of Thunder Guard Dragon really did end here, and was only really solidified with the loss of Colossus on the January 2020 ban list. The deck certainly did live a long, volatile life, but its time did come to pass. Now, amongst a field of Spiral and Shaddoll, the format of February 2020 seemed to be fairly liquid, heading towards the Tulsi UDS. It was at this event that Dragon emerged from the shadows right out of the blue. Shunping Zhu took this event convincingly with a rocket strategy that no one was truly considering as a competitor heading in. The list had clearly taken loads of inspiration from successful OCG Dragon Link builds, and utilized the Rocket engine alongside newer Dragon support cards like that of Starleech Seifert that had arrived mid-2019 but never really been fully utilized. The goal of this build focused on abusing the strength of Hieratic Seal alongside the easy access to the Guard Dragon package to create strong negate and interaction heavy boards that players were not really used to dealing with at this point. Variations of this original Shunping build went on to see continued success throughout the format, specifically within the YCS Vegas 3v3, where Shunping was once again seen in Top Cut piloting Dragon. Now we fast forward a bit, and although quarantine had obviously shut down official events, the game continued on. A large wave of important products that would change the game permanently had been released beginning in mid-March of 2020. Dual Overload brought with it Crystron Halqifibrax, Verte Anaconda, Union Carrier, and a number of other very impactful tools for decks across the format. And soon after this came Eternity Code and Link Cross. Paired with the recently released Secret Slayer set, the stage had really been set for a very unbalanced format, unwelcoming for Dragon. Unfortunately for this original Quarantine format, Dragon Link had more or less so taken a complete backseat. The power of Adamantipator and Synchro Eldritch had far overtaken anything else within the format, and they were really battling out for the throne. However, come June of 2020, and we received the side set Toon Chaos. This set gave direct dragon support within Chaos Space, not only replacing the lost copies of the black and white baby dragons, but in some ways actually improving how they were used within the Dragon Link strategy. By utilizing this support, combo builders went to work, and the deck went on to take multiple top cut spots the next LCS, including Tristan Pugh, who happened to actually win the entire event with a Dragon Link variant. At this point, Dragon had changed wildly from the builds Shenping had previously piloted. Tristan had won using a build that prioritized newfound Link Cross and Halka-Fibrax combos that functioned to FTK the opponent. Halka-Fibrax access was all but immediate for the Dragon strategy, while utilizing Dragoonity Romulus and Divine Lance, and at this point in time, with Link Cross, access to Halka-Fibrax was pretty much all a person needed in order to combo and win the game. However, the deck definitely didn't stay on the FTK route for long. In fact, the next LCS was won once again by Dragon, but this time it was a much more simplified Halka-Fibrax Turbo build. This build more or less became the standard for Dragon decks everywhere during this time, functioning to use Link Cross with Romulus to make a Herald of the Arc Light, and then proceed to combo off, protected with Halka-Fibrax. These combos would generally result in Borload Savage, Heavenly Seal, and an extra deck lock, courtesy of Union Carrier, a powerful link that had come out of Dual Overload, along with Halka-Fibrax. Dragons had adapted and seemingly overcame the competition. With a ban list in September that neutered both Eldritch and Adamantipator, it seemed more and more that Dragon would take the next format by storm. And thus it did, Dragon proving its worth once again, taking a majority of top 16 in the LCS 6 that occurred right after the September ban list went into effect. The builds were getting more and more streamlined, and the combos were simply far superior to any other deck in the meta, minus possibly Infernoble. Dragon's showing had been strong all year, and the sets released were only feeding into that, up to this point at least. And now we enter November of 2020, and Phantom Rage releases, bringing with it the Virtual World archetype. Now up to this point, Infernoble and Dragon have separated themselves as the best decks of this format. However, at the first LCS Legal with Virtual World, both the Dragons and the Warriors fell at the hands of the new strategy. Virtual World taking almost 50% of LCS 8's top 16, with only 2 Dragon Link in top cut at all now. The best decks had far and away been dethroned, and the upcoming December ban list didn't really bode well for Dragon's success in the future either. Now, even though Dragon Link and Infernoble had been struggling, obviously, to maintain relevance against Virtual World, Konami really didn't hold back on this next ban list. They went to work and banned Link Cross as well as Dragon Buster, completely disabling Dragon's previous win condition being the extra deck lock. The Age of Dragons really did seem to be over for the time being. Virtual World dominating the format gave little hope for those trying to combo, specifically when trying to break a board going second. However, if you do fast forward a bit to LCS 10 at the end of January 2021, you will find a little hope for Dragon. Though the field was absolutely torn apart by Virtual World, there was one player, being Gabriel Netz, on the winning team who decided to pilot a different sort of Dragon Link variant. Now, although the deck was titled the same as its predecessors had been, the purpose of this Dragon Link strategy had certainly changed. The days of hard comboing with Halka-Fibrax every game had really been put behind it. The deck now more or less sought out to put out more control-style interaction in the form of the Dragon-made trap, pairing that with Heavenly Seal. With additional interruptions where he could manage, the deck played more like a control variant rather than a hard combo like it had previously seen. Dragon had truly transformed to fit into the format, and more or less assimilated after Gabriel Netz's build had gotten more and more popular. However, it didn't really have to adapt for too long, as in March of 2021, Virtual World was hit incredibly hard with the ban of BFD, and Dragon once again was able to come from behind as one of the better decks in the new format, really showing its worth at multiple LCSs, taking many top cut spots. Unfortunately, regardless of how some of us feel about dragons, the strategy had certainly gotten old for some. With format after format having some form of Dragon Link bouncing in and out, it did in fact get stale for the majority of the player base, and calls for the ban of LP, the biggest enabler, was much louder than it had previously been.
It feels like we've been in this format for an eternity. I don't know about you guys. Okay, nothing so far. LP's ban, baby! Thank God!
On the most recent ban list, these wishes were met, and one of the strongest Dragon support cards ever printed finally met its end. Unfortunately for those who despise Dragon, the story doesn't end there. Although LP was banned, many players have still been testing and practicing variants of Dragon Link, multiple of which were actually able to take top cut spots at the LCS 15 this July. The deck has once again been innovated and adapted to its place in time, and honestly, as annoying as that may be for some, I think it's simply a testament to the amazing pool of cards Konami has printed for Dragon support over the years. This deck and players dedicated to it have brought Dragon this far, creating some of the wildest builds and combos I've seen in my time playing this game. There's a part of the community that has spent blood, sweat, and tears to develop this over time, and honestly, shout out to all of you who have done so. Making a deck work after so much banlist harassment is genuinely impressive. And now we've reached the present. I have no doubts that Dragon decks will continue to see more play and success within many different forms. The question I posed at the beginning of this video was simple. How has the Dragon strategy lasted so long? And I think the simple answer is that the Dragon deck and the tools Dragons have been given are some truly versatile cards. Dragon Link may be the form that Dragon Toolbox is taking today, but years from now, when the game has developed far past this point, I'm sure Dragon will once again find a way to creep in. Dragon Tribal has been one of the few strategies that has genuinely remained timeless in a game so defined by power creep, and I think the development is just so interesting to observe. Anyhow, if you've managed to get to the end of this video, genuinely a heartfelt thank you. This was really a long one, and I did just genuinely want to capture the legacy of Dragon, everything that it has taken in to become what it is today. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did enjoy creating it. Until next time, thank you guys so much for your continued support. I'll see you next time.